Welcome to Basketball U. If you're new to Basketball U, make sure you slam dunk that subscribe button. And just to make sure you don't miss a thing, make sure you tap that notification bell right after you hit that subscribe button. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen and boys and girls, to Basketball U. Today, we are going to teach you the ABCs of basketball. But before I do that, I gotta tell you to like, comment, and subscribe. And even check out the last videos we did, teaching you about the history of basketball, and teaching you about the court, teaching you about the rim, and all the angles and measurements and all types of different numbers on there. It's important that you come in and ask questions so we can get back to you either somewhere on the YouTube comments or maybe on the social media. Right there in front of you, our Instagram and our Twitter. Link is in the description. It's whatever. Just hit us up. Now let's talk about the ABCs of basketball. Basketball is a game filled with all sorts of lingo and slang. And as I was going through around this, it may sound like a foreign language, but basketball terminology in general has a manageable learning curve just for anybody's lives. Unless this is your first time watching this video and you're trying to learn about basketball. These simple terms with the videos we're going to put them with are going to help you remember them nice and clearly. Now I'm going to try to do my best and go in alphabetical order just to make it a little bit easier instead of jumping all over the place. So I may talk about something that's not simple, but it's the order of the letters. So that way, it's easier for you to remember. Before I get started, I just want to make sure that I give you at least 2 terms of each letter. And it's going to be in regard to basketball in some form, some type of action, or some type of object, even in some type of sand. So we're going to start it off with the letter A, and that's air ball. And air ball is a very ugly thing in the game of basketball, and it's sort of like when your mom busts in your room to tell you to turn off your video games when the best part of it is happening to clean your room, or it's like when you get ready to eat your favorite piece of food or candy and you accidentally drop it. Hate that feeling. But the air ball, it just brings the wrong energy. It can suck the energy out of a building, out of a game, out of a player, even out of a team when everything seems to be going right. But what I'm trying to say is, an air ball is a shot attempt that clearly misses any contact of any part of the basket. No backboard, no net, no rim. Now here's another letter A, but this one's a little bit different. This time the ball is in the air and it doesn't make contact with any part of the basket either, but it does change the energy of the game. It gets the crowd excited. And again, this one right here is like probably one of the most seen things in basketball because guys and even girls jump so high to get the ball. This term will be known as an alley-oop. And an alley-oop is a lob pass from one offense player to a leaping teammate. And that teammate grabs the ball out of the air and dunks it. Almost broke the backboard with that one. That's all for A. Now let's get to the B's. Now if you've been paying attention to Basketball U for a while, you will know that this B is for backboard. A very important part of the game of basketball. Because 1, it's the thing that holds the rim, and 2, it is needed for assistance when shooting the ball. The backboard is square shaped, full of glass, and it also includes a white mini square above the rim in order to help players when shooting the ball. And since we're talking about aiming and shooting off the backboard, let's bring up another thing that starts with a B, and that's called a bank shot. A bank shot is where the player uses the backboard to bounce the ball off onto the rim and into the net. On to C, and I'm not talking about the water either. This one is simple. It happens in basketball. It's the first thing taught for the basics. This is called a chest pass. Chest pass is from the chest. Pass between teammates where the ball doesn't touch the ground. Now this next C is a little aggressive, but it offers some advantage. Not a lot of players like to do this on the court, but it happens to be a very important part of changing the momentum of the game. And that is when the player takes a charge. A charge is an offensive foul that's called when an offensive player runs into a defender who has established position. We have now arrived at the letter D, and there wouldn't be a game of basketball without this D, and that's defense. The team on defense is the team without possession of the basketball. While on defense, the team will attempt to prevent the opposition from scoring in their basket. This next D is another important term that makes the game enjoyable and fun. Dribbling. It's one of the most entertaining parts of the game and excites fans and people all over the world. Want a good example? We can take it old school with Pistol Pete. Or we can go modern and show you Allen Iverson. Okay, maybe that was a little too advanced to show, but you get the idea. Dribbling is a process of using one hand to repeatedly bounce the basketball off the floor. This is the only legal way a player can move around the court while in possession of the basketball. Now let's move over to E. Now this little flashy razzle-dazzle move didn't become popular until foreign players entered the NBA, and this is called the Euro step. This advanced move is used when attacking the basket, and it involves a player taking a step in one direction and then taking a step in another direction for the second step before finishing at the rim. Now this next E term is a little more simple, but it's another phrase for baseline, and then it's called inline. Inline are the boundaries at the end of the court under the basket. Now let's get to the F's. This one is another exciting thing in the game of basketball where you see in a lot of highlights on television from all different types of sports channels. This one is called fast break. After a change of possession, a team advances the basketball as quickly as possible to attack the defense before the defense can actually establish a good transition position for their defense, which leaves the defense scrambling while the offense player advances the ball up to the court, getting that easy point up on the boards. This next F term that you hear is everyone's favorite thing to argue as a player, coach, even a fan watching the game. When the whistle blows and the referee's hand is up, we got ourselves a foul. A foul is a violation of the rules, usually involving illegal contact with a player of the opposition. A lot of times this happens making an attempt at a block off the backboard or an attempt layup, or when it's a player that goaltends. And G, we're at goaltending. This violation is called when a player on defense touches the basketball when it's on the downward flight after a shot. When this occurs, the basket is counted. This violation also applies if a player touches the basketball while it's above or on the rim. The next term in letter G is a smooth old school play that usually gets a player a score or a basket. We call this give and go. It's a play involving the offensive player with the basketball making a pass to a teammate and then cutting towards the rim and receiving a return pass. You don't see this often. It's very old school. I love it. As we advance more to the alphabets, we are now at H. And this H is very common for a player by the name of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. This is his signature shot. So unstoppable. It's the reason why he's the leading scorer in NBA history. This one is called the hook shot. It's a one-handed shot involving the player with the basketball turning side on to the basket and then extending their shooting arm, then flicking the basketball over their head towards the basket. Very difficult shot to block. Another term for H is also half court, and half court is as simple as the half of the basketball court. You put those two halves together and you got yourself a full court. Simple terms. Simple. I. Inbounds. Simple term that describes throwing the ball in play from the out of bounds. Then we got isolation, an offensive tactic involving one player with the basketball being left alone on one side of the court while their teammates clear out to the other side. This is often used when a player has a favorable one-on-one matchup. Now you know the game is about to begin once you see this J term, and it's jump ball. It's used to start every game of basketball. It involves the referee throwing the ball up in the center of the court between two players who can jump high and attempt to tap the basketball to one of their teammates. Another scenario for this to happen is when two players tangle for a possession of the ball, but neither has a clear advantage. In the NBA, jump balls result in the two players fighting for possession to compete for the ball exactly just like the opening tip. Along with dribbling, this is also one of the most important parts of the game, the jump shot. The jump shot is taken by jumping up in the air and releasing the basketball at the peak of the jump. The letter K doesn't really have a lot of terms for basketball, but there are two that come to mind to help you learn. the ABCs of basketball. The key, the rectangular area under the basket and the free throw circle, originally referred to as the key because the lane lines were closer together than the width of the free throw circle, which gave off the appearance of a keyhole. Another K term is kick. It's for passing when penetrating the lane and passing to an open offensive player for an opportunity to score. There isn't many L terms in basketball either, but the one everyone knows, and it usually starts up as the basic teaching of basketball, is layup. A layup is a close range shot taken when attacking the basket. It usually involves the shooter banking the basketball off the backboard. Another term that's common in L is lane violation. It can be called on either on the offensive or defensive team, and it occurs during free throw situations. Any player that steps over the lane line before the basketball has left the shooter's hands will be called for a lane violation. The ABCs of basketball has a lot going on, and we can't give them all to you all at once. So be sure to check out part 2 as we continue with M. This is Basketball U. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And also follow all of our social medias right there in the description to keep yourself up to date, as this channel will have a lot of basketball, a lot of players, and a lot of training and more information on how to play the game of basketball. Remember, someone's always working. Are you?